Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Hospitality. The best day of the week is when you're listening to GMH. But before we get into this episode, I have a quick word from our friends at Cloudbeds. You all know that I started behind the front desk. I was at the Davenport in Spokane, Washington under the Autograph Collection of Marriott. We had over 716 rooms, and I'll tell you, I loved that job. I loved the guests and the rhythm. What I didn't love was the technology, because here's what nobody tells you when you take that job. The tech is supposed to make you better at hospitality, but most of it just gets in the way. Cloudbeds was built on a different idea, that the hotelier is the hero. That technology should free up your ambition and not eat into your morning. One platform, intelligence running through every layer, and hoteliers in 150 plus countries are already on it. If you ever stood behind the front desk and thought there has to be a better way, well, there is. Cloudbeds.com/GMH. All right, now let's get back in the news. If you're trying to drive more direct bookings right now, here's the reality. They don't just magically happen. You have to actually stay in front of your guests. And one tool I've actually been recommending for a very long time is StayFi. What's really cool about them is that they turn your Wi-Fi itself into a data capturing tool. So every time a guest connects, you're collecting contact info, and not just from the one who booked, but from everyone who's staying in the property. And that's a huge unlock because most operators don't even own even a fraction of their guest data. And in a time of AI, data is king. From there, StayFi actually helps you turn that into bookings with automated emails, post-stay follow-ups, and campaigns that bring guests back. I've seen portfolios collect tens of thousands of guest emails and more than double their direct bookings in less than a year with this StayFi feature. And if you don't have time to run all of that, or you prefer to be more hands-off, they now offer managed email marketing services where their team just handles it for you. They've also made their setup way easier with a new hardware option called Aginet, which is up to 40% cheaper than traditional setups. So if you've been thinking about building a real direct booking engine, now is a fantastic time to start. Head to stayfi.com/goodmorninghospitality to learn more and to get 50% off your first 3 months. That's stayfi.com/goodmorninghospitality.
Good morning.
USA.
How was your weekend?
It was a good weekend. Lots of soccer. My son's curious why I'm all of a sudden into soccer.
Every 4 years.
Once every 4 years. Yeah. How many players can I name on the field? Usually no more than one. But that's all right. It's still fun to watch.
Yeah, I have to say, I know our main topic today is about the World Cup and hotels, but in terms of vibes, I have to give the Scottish are, first of all, the entire nation of Scotland is in Boston right now. I was flying back from Sarasota Friday morning, and my flight from Newark to Boston was 50% Scots, like all in their kilts, all ready to go. And like the city is filled. My Hinge is literally every guy is just Scots. And I'm like, wow. I was like, wow, this guy's from Scotland. This guy's from Scotland. And I was like, oh yeah, they're all here for this game.
And they won. Can you believe it?
And they won. And it's just like the energy that they're bringing to the city is so fun, and like it's rowdy, but it's just like joyous. And the next game they have here in Boston, I'm going to go to one of the watch parties downtown and brave like all 30,000 of them that are here.
The crowd is very different when there's no expectations of winning and you're just happy to be there.
Exactly.
Like
there's no stress about
happy to be there.
They're just like, exactly. And that's and like that was kind of, normally on planes, I like really hate when people are just like trying to talk to me or talking around. I'm especially like early morning flights when it's like maybe still dark out, but everybody is just chatting. They're positive. They're striking up conversations with like all the other people that are just like traveling, and the vibes were high. So I hope the Scots do well. I love the energy they're bringing to Boston, and I can't wait to go like insert myself in it the next time they're playing.
We've got the Spaniards in town in Atlanta. So Spain kicks off in an hour and a half.
You going?
No. But I did see, and there was quite a few Spanish people in their jerseys walking down my street this morning, like clearly on their way to the train station and heading into the game. I think they opened up the stadium at like 7 a.m. this morning for a noon game. So
Yeah, well, so that's the interesting thing. I mean, everybody has been talking about how the transportation situation is going to be a nightmare in any city because of our transportation systems. But like in Boston, they opened the stadium much like they did in Atlanta, like super early. So people are getting out there and, getting into the stadium. But then, I mean, I think anywhere in the world, you're going to be like at the end of the game, there isn't like a staggered of people leaving. You have every single person that's there leaving at once. And it was taking people like 3 hours to get back into Boston. But I'm like, that's going to happen. I mean, I think anywhere you're going to be, it's just going to be kind of a nightmare to leave a game like that.
Fortunately for Atlanta, we have like 50,000 of the hotel rooms within walking distance of the stadium. So it's like, and the downtown stadiums are amazing for World Cup atmosphere like that, where just like, everyone takes over the streets instead of trying to line up into a train station. Yeah.
Don't poo-poo American stadiums, just poo-poo Boston.
Yeah.
It's not just Boston, but I mean, I think about like a lot of like stadiums like Atlanta, that's great where you've built out around the urban core, but like Miami's the traffic in Miami getting to that game is going to be so crazy because it's not in Miami. Like there's a bunch of stadiums that are like that. So if you're in a World Cup city where you're like Atlanta, that's good.
I'm here for it. USA dominated in their game. There's this German guy traveling through the South named Freddie. If you're not watching him on Twitter, he's a good laugh.
So how much has U.S. Travel paid Freddie? Should they pick up the rest of his tab?
Well, I was thinking about talking about that on the show. He doesn't have to worry about the rest of his tab. JJ Watt paid for his 5-star hotel in Houston.
Wait, really?
The Saints gave him a tour of their stadium. LSU did the same. He went to the Auburn game with Messi in town. So this guy has become an absolute instant sensation. And literally all he's doing is just like showing he's happy to be places. He's gone to Waffle House and Buc-ee's and random gas stations in Podunk, Mississippi. But just showing, a different side of America than the New York, Boston, LA, Miami.
Yeah. Like show the country is the size of an entire continent. So it's good that someone is showing it and he's having a great time. So
yeah. Brand USA, take notes.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, our main story today is more data focused and around the World Cup. But before we dive into that, I want to give a shout out to our main sponsor, Cloudbeds. Cloudbeds unifies your operations, distribution, guest experience, and revenue marketing in one place, powered by Signal, hospitality's first foundation AI model. Whether you're trying to drive more direct bookings, cut training time, or finally get your data working for you, Cloudbeds is built for what's next. Learn more at cloudbeds.com/GMH or find that link in our show notes. So a lot of the stories on the show and also just like in the general, zeitgeist have been how there hasn't been the kind of crush of revenue that people were expecting for hotels and short-term rentals around the World Cup. And so now that the World Cup has started, Jamie, what is the data actually saying?
Yeah. So I shared on LinkedIn yesterday that we have been quoted in 2,031 stories related to the World Cup, which has just been
You're famous.
Crazy. And no, I like the amount of inbound that we've been getting has just been like our press team. I get message from them at like 6 o'clock at night, my time, which they're in Barcelona, which is midnight their time, still trying to work through requests. It's been ridiculous. But we knew last minute bookings were going to happen. They happen in the hotel industry. They happen for short-term rentals. They happen especially in the cities. And they happen especially around events where you get a last minute ticket. You decide to go last minute. Like just so much of the demand does come in. So in LA, Mexico City and Toronto, where we had opening games for US, Mexico, and Canada, 30% of bookings came in within the last week across all three of those cities.
That's crazy.
Revenue manager's absolute worst nightmare. A major sporting event, 30%.
Yeah. So that's, it wasn't a surprise, but I think it's still always a surprise. People want to think that big events like this are going to cause people to book further in advance so they can plan the premium that they were hoping to get associated with the event. And really, Mexico City did get the premium. So they sold 51% more nights. They got a 86% increase in ADR. So on Mexico City Thursday night, they generated 180% more revenue than the Thursday in the prior year. Like that was incredible. LA and Toronto were much more rate driven. Typically, big events like this are rate driven. In LA, Toronto already doing well during summer, typically. So, and LA occupancy was up 10%, ADR is up 17%. Toronto occupancy was essentially flat, but ADR is up 40%. And both markets sold about 10% more nights. So I'd say it was an incredible night in Mexico City. I mean, Mexico did win. So that was awesome. Canada tied, but overall strong rate driven event in LA. And you saw all the stars there for the event. I think in general, I mean, a lot of these events and where you don't have a Scotland or it is teams that are traveling in, where if you don't have a big country, like you're relying on people in the city coming in, you're relying on domestic travel with people that got tickets. So I do think as we get into the group stages, and there's going to be a lot of the big teams, a lot of the teams that travel sort of driving a lot of the overall demand. And some of the group stages, they are going to be non-events in some of these cities. So I'm still looking for tickets for Congo, Uzbekistan, if anyone's got a lead.
Well, I think it makes sense. Like if you're like, oh, I'm a big fan. I'm, Brazilian or whatever. And I want to go to the game. You're going to want to spend the money to go to the game that's like more important. So I can understand why this group stage is softer, unless you're someone who's like, I have taken this entire month off. And I'm just gonna be
like
here
the whole
for
country of
long
Scotland. Yeah.
Yeah, the entire country. It was funny. One of my friends was like, maybe now's the time to go to Edinburgh. Like there's no lines for anything. I'm like, no, there's going to be no people there.
Yeah.
They're literally all in Boston right now, the entire country. Well, it's interesting because throughout this article, you can see that the kind of the people they're getting quotes from hospitality firms are just, not happy. That the one quote from Jonathan Goldstein, it's right to say that at this point in time, the pickup has not been what we expected, period. Like people are salty. And I can understand because, I mean, especially there's been all sorts of, commentary about FIFA and their pricing and like the kind of machine behind it, and a lot of promises being made of how much this is going to just be such an economic driver. So you have hotels, and there's the Wall Street Journal article that's been going around for a couple of weeks of people that redid their homes for, these games, and then they're not seeing this. So you're fed this idea that even in the group stages, this is going to be like 6 weeks of the craziest economic activity you've ever seen. And the reality is just something different.
When people want to travel around, not stay in one place for 3 weeks. So, insert Freddie again, my man. One of the most exciting sentences in this article brings up the idea, and I didn't even think about this. I really hope it comes true, but the possibility of Ronaldo playing Messi.
Oh yeah,
one
in
last
Miami.
time. It could be Miami. It could be Jersey, I think, are the two.
Oh, for the final? Yeah.
The two routes. That would be the most insane sports ticket ever, right? Both are the best ever, pick a side. And seeing them in a World Cup in the US, those ticket prices, I don't even want to think about. But rates in those cities would probably end up doing pretty well. So it's very much game driven.
No, and I think you feel and reading some of the articles, and I think Bailey's picked up on some of this too, of the anger doesn't come from like that, the mix, or there might not be the demand that people would have expected. Like the anger, I think, comes from like when there's empty seats in the stadium, of like FIFA's doing this with prices. Like prices for a lot of these games are still ridiculous. Crazy. And the fact that and know what FIFA's doing in terms of managing tickets and throwing them to sponsors, like, but not lowering them for an average consumer to actually get people into these games.
Yeah, the real fans that might travel.
Yeah, that would have traveled, offering them at significant lower prices, get people in the stadiums, get people spending on travel, on lodging, on restaurants. Like, this was meant to be a boom for the city, not just a boom for FIFA.
Yeah, that is, I mean, I think that is, you can feel that there is that anger. And I was curious about when I was looking in the games that were playing this last weekend, and like the stadiums are pretty full, but there are also empty seats, and like those definitely could have been sold. Like at last minute tickets for someone who isn't like a super fan, if they were reasonable, that could have been a fun kind of like once in a lifetime or once in a generation event.
Yeah, I think the era of reasonable pricing in tickets in general has passed us.
Yeah.
College sports is now professional sports. Prices are crazy. The cheapest ticket in the Knicks games that I saw was like $6,500 for nosebleeds. So, like, I don't know, the loyalty of being fan focused is sadly, I don't know. I grew up going to games all the time.
Well,
like they're too expensive to go to on a very regular basis.
I think it's very short-sighted, because how you build these generations of fans and loyalty is people like going to the game and and I'm not even a big, sports fan, but even I know that like you bring your kids to the game and then they grow up with this love of being there. Like, you're not going to develop that just because you watch it on TV. You have to go to a game every once in a while and like interact physically with the product,
And Paul, I texted some of my friends this weekend, like the hydration breaks are such BS.
It's such obvious ad breaks.
The benefit of America playing in America is we're used to the climate. And when we play against an England or a Scotland, and then we have timeouts halfway through each half, as soon as it flipped over to ads, I was like, aha, there it is. It's not about player safety. It's about ads. You're spot on, Paul.
I think the rest of the world can thank the US of finally introducing ads into the middle of
you're welcome.
And everyone gets a bathroom break, a chance to refill their drink. Like, think of all the downstream implications of these hydration breaks.
One interesting thing in terms of demand that came from this article that I hadn't really thought about. So they're referencing in Brazil when there was this crazy surge in demand for the final games. And they're like, yeah, because Argentina was in those games. So you could because Argentina was there, and is physically closer, you had such a influx in demand. But if that team had been a European team or an Asian team, you might not have seen that kind of demand. So I think as we go through the rest of these games, it'll be interesting to see the demand fluctuate for those games based on geographically where they are.
Yes and no. I mean, America is a huge country with lots of nationalities represented. So as long as it's, a big country, an England, a France, Brazil, there's going to be plenty of demand.
I guess this was referencing like international inbound travel. So that makes sense. But yeah, I have no doubt that those last few games will be fully sold, and, that's
yes.
I don't think they have to worry about that. But as always, I guess we'll keep waiting and looking at all the data and seeing how many more articles Jamie can get quoted in. But before we move on to our next sponsor, or next article, I want to mention our next sponsor, Built. They're helping restaurants and hotel F&B teams better understand their guests and create more personalized experiences that drive repeat visits. So if you care about loyalty and guest experience, which I know everybody does, they're definitely worth checking out. Head to joinbuilt.com/GMH for more information, or find the link in the show notes. So now we have something we've been waiting for. This isn't a huge surprise, but Vrbo is launching their sponsored listings with Expedia. So this is something that they've been talking about for a while. So now it's finally come. And any initial thoughts?
Well, they're launching sponsored listings on Vrbo, which will ultimately end up on Expedia, but not right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is any surprise. Airbnb's talked about doing it. I don't know if they've done it yet. They've talked about doing it for a few years. Vrbo has as well. They've pushed it live. It's going to convert better, obviously. And, I think this is a good opportunity for PMs to differentiate themselves from the long tail of the market. But, on the net, it's going to be a good thing for the Vrbo Expedia brand.
Yeah, I think, and it's always been understandable why Brian hasn't wanted to do it with Airbnb and focus on an individual host. Individual hosts get significantly higher ratings. Like if you let the property manager sort of pay to be on the top of the list of, and it just creates a weird dynamic. Vrbo, you don't necessarily have that problem. Like Vrbo has been a platform for the professional manager and for at least the past 5-6 years, right? And even though Vrbo stands for vacation rental by owner, it's essentially vacation rental by professional. And they really lean into that and we've got the professionally managed inventories, what you're going to get. And I think them leaning into and we're going to allow those professionals to, if they think they can provide the best stay, pay to make sure that the guest sees it. And it ends up being a win-win for both the manager and for Vrbo of creating new revenue streams that hopefully they can use to reinvest back into the platform.
Yeah. And I have to say from the operator side, it's you're doing anything you can to be on those front pages. And I know that a lot of people on the consumer side or maybe elsewhere in the industry don't love that this is more in the pay to play era. Gabriel mentioned this, but as an operator, it's anything you can do to get eyeballs on your property to drive revenue. There are so many listings. There's so much competition. I want every single tool I can. And I don't know if that means I get to throw money at the problem. I'm going to throw, I'd
rather pay Vrbo than Google, right?
For sure. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's this also, even if you have a limited budget, you're I can get direct, an almost immediate ROI on these rather than Google where I have low CTR or whatever it is. This is a much better potentially use of your ad dollars. And so even if you're a smaller PM, the bigger PMs are going to be able to outspend you for sure. But also, if you're a smaller PM, it doesn't mean you can't. You can just be more creative and clever with your ad dollars.
But Brandy, at least it gives you the ability to do that calculation. What is the cost to get this booking? All right, how valuable is that booking getting that customer? Do I have a way to convert that customer to being a lifetime user of Prime Vacation Rentals over time that gives me a higher LTV than just getting that one booking? And it really justify, all right, let's lean into this paid campaign and be able to and get higher occupancies out, and you doing better jobs at that can then ultimately build more value for your owners.
Yeah. And Vrbo, this was announced, I guess, on the last earnings call. They did $1 billion of ARR just on the Vrbo brand. So that brand is continuously getting better. The brand itself, and Tim acknowledges this in the interview, is not Airbnb's brand, but they have multiple ways of capturing that traveler through the Vrbo brand, through the Expedia brand, through local regional brands like Arbitel in France. And then the shining star of the Expedia portfolio, the B2B side of things. And being able to tie all those in, they're getting plenty of exposure for properties, despite not having, the Apex brand in the space.
Yeah. And that exposure piece, I was thinking about, if you're anyone that has a lot of listings, naturally you're going to have listings that even if they're good properties and they have good reviews, but they only have 3 5-star reviews or something, you're languishing kind of on page 3 or something like that. You're this is a good opportunity for you to be able to boost some of those property. It's just, there's this game that you're playing with the algorithm. And this is just I think another tool that operators now have.
But the risk is that all of a sudden all these low quality properties start paying to be on the top, and you can have this downward spiral. And I feel like it happens with Amazon sometimes, all the sponsored products are like the worst ones, and like, you're sponsoring, you show up on the top, and then I buy it, and then I'm like disappointed with that decision. So you could ultimately have people that start getting more and more bad experiences with Verbo because the best properties aren't showing up on top, and or at least like you're cycling through the bad ones more than the good ones, and pushing the better ones further down just because someone's willing to pay to get their listing further up.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've seen it. You see it all the time on Amazon. It's the first two, and then you scroll past that, right?
All right.
So marketers have to make sure the properties that they're promoting are going to be able to convert. Because the worst thing you can do is throw money at bad properties, right? No property manager wants to do that. And then
an owner might.
The owner might. But this could also spur on some trust signal with the guests besides just the traveler review. Forbes 4-star, 5-star hotels, you kind of know what you're going to get. That doesn't really exist today on a big scale in short-term rentals. So all this, what happens next? There's a few ways this could shake out.
Yeah, so we'll just have to, like anything, just kind of see how it goes. Wait and see. But before we get to our last topic of the day, we want to mention our sponsor, StayFi. StayFi helps short-term rental operators build direct guest relationships through branded Wi-Fi portals, email marketing, and guest data tools that turn one-time bookers into repeat guests. We've used them before in the past at multiple companies that I've worked for, so love the team over there. Start growing your direct booking revenue today at stayfi.com/goodmorninghospitality. And you can find that link in the show notes.
That's a perfect segue from a sponsored listing on Verbo, going into StayFi, capturing the guest information, and keeping that guest for future marketing.
Exactly.
Well played.
Lovely. And so, our last topic of the day is from an article that talks about an interview that Brian Chesky did, saying that Airbnb is now trying to get into the creator game, and that creators are its next big thing. And in my bid to not sound like I'm always hating on everything that they are doing, I felt like a lot of this sounded like an article from several years ago, like talking about, and I gotta like give it to Brian for continuously trying to push Airbnb to be a social media company, and creators are the next thing. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, is this just a piece? Is this just an interview and this is just something he's talking about? Is this like a real tangible piece of business? What do you think?
I think it's a very real tangible piece of business, but not for Airbnb. We saw TikTok partner with Expedia and Booking.com. Airbnb was left out. And nowhere in the article about Brian teaming up with creators does it say how creators are going to make money from Airbnb.
Yeah.
It kind of implies that creators can use Airbnb as a platform to book great properties and then host experiences for yoga retreats or writing retreats, those types of things, which is great for a niche creator. But if you want the big ones, you've got to have a B2B, let them monetize transactions, not host a 10-person writer's retreat. Both are monetization methods. One is scaled and one is not.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Jamie.
No, say Airbnb has a creator economy. It's called Airbnb Experiences. It's called Airbnb's Originals. Like, they are clearly paying these creators to create experiences, to highlight the best aspects of what could happen in any given town. I was there at Airbnb's product launch last year when they did experiences and services. The room was filled with creators. Brian loves creators. I think I said it at the time, but I felt like the oldest and least attractive person in that entire room. And not saying anything about myself, but like that's yeah.
That's saying something. If you were the least attractive person in the room, I mean, you're setting the stage there.
Yeah, and it was all built around creators, getting them excited about experiences, and I don't know if it's worked or not. I think the results so far maybe show that it hasn't, in terms of generating enough overall and snowball effect around, okay, these originals can then be and standard experiences, and that it's going to drive enough overall demand. But Airbnb has shown, like, and especially in certain countries, that working with certain creators, it's almost like in advertising and general advertising, that this person is sort of promoting the Airbnb brand. It's not through and traditional what we'd see with and TikTok and like, okay, and booking, like, post about this, drive a booking. It's more about brand marketing than actual like paid for performance marketing.
Yeah, I think that if you separate this from like, I kind of think of all of these things now just as part of their marketing and PR machine. Like the experience with Sabrina Carpenter or Conan O'Brien. Like, I think that's really cool. I don't really know. I don't, that's not going to be the revenue driver, but it's Airbnb gets to do pretty much any cool marketing thing that you could possibly think of with essentially no budget. And then link it as like different parts of their, different parts of their business, their experiences, their services, their home. They get to do with crazy celebrities and all this. They just get to do fun stuff all the time. So if that's the value prop of just like continuing to feed the giant PR machine that has a relentless, insatiable appetite, then I don't know. I think it's cool,
it's great. I loved the originals. The idea of spending a night alone in the Louvre is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I love it. The flip side is, that's all marketing play. That's not, they're not making any money off of that. Expedia, according to ChatGPT, I didn't have time to fact check this, but according to ChatGPT, Expedia's B2B arm did something like 4.8 billion last year.
Yeah. It's just like incomparable numbers.
Just totally different than, really cool splashy marketing with creators versus like monetizing. Now that B2B is not just creators, but it's an entire segment of travel that they've done obviously extremely well with.
Well, you made a point before the show, Michael, that this might be just like one of the small, like not even a big toe dip, but like a pinky toe dip into B2B for Airbnb. So
I think if you're looking at your competitors and you're becoming an OTA, adding more than just short-term rentals, B2B you're going to have to build it out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what other fun things Brian decides to do with their giant war chest. So stay tuned. Also, I think one of the things that makes me sad about the Airbnb originals and like those fun experiences is that I'll probably never get to do them. Like every time I see them, they have like already happened.
I've applied for them. Yeah. I just never want them.
Yeah. Airbnb, if you want some good marketing around your originals, send GMH out.
The number one show in hospitality. We're waiting for you.
No, I have done one. Getting to spend the day with Chance the Rapper was pretty freaking cool.
Oh yeah, that is really cool. Well, great show today, guys. It's funny. Every couple years, I've become really invested in soccer again. So I love that we're just getting into all this World Cup data. I find it very fun, and being in it is very fun. Do you guys have any fun plans coming up this week, non-World Cup related or World Cup related?
I'll start trying to get into the South Africa Czech Republic game. Take Elliot, my 8-year-old, to that. So he's got camp on that day. I've got it blocked off on my schedule. So still trying to get last minute tickets to that one, which would be pretty fun. And then we're headed up to Mountain House this weekend to celebrate Father's Day.
Nice.
Yeah. Pick up your Vuvuzela on your way to that game. The best part of the South African World Cup.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. That's that. And then watching the USA play on Friday, I believe it is. And chugging along at the rest of the work week. Nothing crazy. Brandy, it's still June.
I'm in Boston the whole week.
All right. Welcome.
Yeah, it's nice. It's getting hot here. So I did live in this weather for like a decade. I should be used to it, but we'll see.
A warm American embrace for all of our international visitors.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Gabriel, Paul, love that you guys are chatting during the show. It's always fun to chat with you guys live. For everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all next week.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Hospitality. The best day of the week is when you're listening to GMH. But before we get into this episode, I have a quick word from our friends at Cloudbeds. You all know that I started behind the front desk. I was at the Davenport in Spokane, Washington under the Autograph Collection of Marriott. We had over 716 rooms, and I'll tell you, I loved that job. I loved the guests and the rhythm. What I didn't love was the technology, because here's what nobody tells you when you take that job. The tech is supposed to make you better at hospitality, but most of it just gets in the way. Cloudbeds was built on a different idea, that the hotelier is the hero. That technology should free up your ambition and not eat into your morning. One platform, intelligence running through every layer, and hoteliers in 150 plus countries are already on it. If you ever stood behind the front desk and thought there has to be a better way, well, there is. Cloudbeds.com/GMH. All right, now let's get back in the news. If you're trying to drive more direct bookings right now, here's the reality. They don't just magically happen. You have to actually stay in front of your guests. And one tool I've actually been recommending for a very long time is STFi. What's really cool about them is that they turn your Wi-Fi itself into a data capturing tool. So every time a guest connects, you're collecting contact info, and not just from the one who booked, but from everyone who's staying in the property. And that's a huge unlock because most operators don't even own even a fraction of their guest data. And in a time of AI, data is king. From there, STFi actually helps you turn that into bookings with automated emails, post-stay follow-ups, and campaigns that bring guests back. I've seen portfolios collect tens of thousands of guest emails and more than double their direct bookings in less than a year with this STFi feature. And if you don't have time to run all of that, or you prefer to be more hands-off, they now offer managed email marketing services where their team just handles it for you. They've also made their setup way easier with a new hardware option called Aginet, which is up to 40% cheaper than traditional setups. So if you've been thinking about building a real direct booking engine, now is a fantastic time to start. Head to stayfi.com/goodmorninghospitality to learn more and to get 50% off your first 3 months. That's stayfi.com/goodmorninghospitality.